Long time no see. I know this is awful quality. Um, I've just been running to really talk about how the northern and the southern kingdoms came to be, because that kind of tripped me up when I began reading the Bible and I kept seeing Israel and Judah. I'm like, why are these different? Why do they have different kings? I thought they were all the same. Because today what we see as Israel isn't what it was in the Bible. So you had the 10 northern kingdoms of Israel, and then you had the little one of the 2 southern tribes, which is the southern kingdom called Judah. And Israel was taken out. 150 years later, Judah was taken out. God promised a remnant to come back to Jerusalem, which is the capital of Judah. And so today what we see as Israel is what Judah was. So it went from big old Israel down to little Judah is what we have today. I think all the tribes of what was in Israel is like all Muslim nations now. And so I thought, well, why not explain how it all came to be? And make a little reference video. We went through this with the kids and thought, why not? My husband said, make some reference videos. We can come back to it. So we had Abraham, who had Isaac. Isaac had his twins, Esau and Jacob. Jacob's name changed to Israel. He had 12 sons. On his deathbed, he went to bless all his sons. His oldest son, Reuben, was supposed to get a birthright of a double inheritance. Yet, because of his sin, he had slept with his dad's concubine. He lost his double inheritance, and it seems as if Jacob, Israel, gave it to Joseph, because Israel chose to adopt Joseph's 2 sons on his deathbed, Manasseh and Ephraim. I guess more of a spiritual adoption in a way, and so Joseph got like a double inheritance. So Manasseh and Ephraim each got the inheritance, because there is no tribe of Joseph. We hear the house of Joseph, which is Ephraim and Manasseh. Half tribe Manasseh, half tribe Ephraim makes one tribe. So no matter what in the Bible, whenever a tribe is taken out, like say Revelation, I think Dan isn't listed in the 144,000, but Manasseh is. Plus the Levites, I don't believe they had a geographical land allotted to them. They lived in the land, but they didn't have their own because God was their inheritance for their choice of obeying God so well after, Moses came down from the mountain. Had to slaughter all their family and stuff who were wicked. Now, so no matter what, it's always 12. Now, we go to King David, who was Israel's greatest king. He had Solomon, who fell into idolatry. He had 1,000 women, and we don't read about any of his sons, except for one mentioned by name, who was absolute fool, Rehoboam. And, I mean, this just shows you that sin is not where you want to raise a family. Ugh. So, I even had this in Ecclesiastes, like all this hard work and all that I'm doing is just going to be given to the next one who may just destroy it, which is absolutely what they did. So, 1 Kings 11, Ahijah, the prophet, went to Jeroboam, who was Solomon's servant, and told him, you will be taking the 10 kingdoms because of Solomon's idolatry. And Solomon didn't like that, wanted to go kill him. And he ran to Egypt until Solomon's death, when Rehoboam, his son, was supposed to become king next. Rehoboam went advice shopping until he found what he wanted to hear. He didn't like that his father's counselors, the elders, told him, you should be more gentle on the people. I think the reason why people put up with Solomon and his heavy burden and all the taxes is because they all had kind of the same vision and purpose. They knew what he was doing, building 7 years for God's temple and 13 years for his own. Now they wanted it to be lighten the load. And Rehoboam's friends told him, no, you gotta be heavy on them so that they fear you. But he was no one to fear. and he chose to tell the people that, and they didn't like it, so they said they revolted against him. They completely rejected the descendants, the people of God's greatest king, David, their greatest king, and they took the 10 tribes and made Jeroboam king, as God said. It says 1 Kings 12. And now Rehoboam, he tried sending his really difficult, like harsh tax collector up to them, and they just killed him. Now he knows they're serious. So I guess if you look at it, the 10 northern kings, tribes, they had more 11 because they had the Levites, but I guess that didn't count. And then Judah, or Rehoboam, he was promised one tribe, but he had two. He had Judah and Benjamin, and it's because he was already part of the Judah tribe, so he really only had an extra one, which was Benjamin. So now that's where the division came. They're divided now. And Israel, Jeroboam he's afraid of the people having to go down to he was afraid of the people going down to Jerusalem and him losing the people, them giving their allegiance back to Rehoboam. So they decided that he took counsel of his own heart and decided to make Israel have the two golden calves on each side, Bethel and Dan. People worship there out of convenience because, of course, people are going to take the convenient route and saying with the mindset, oh, I don't think God would mind, which he did mind, and we should ask God rather than assuming, I don't think he'll mind, I don't see why he would care, what's the difference? So he set up those, and then he began making everyone a king or a priest, and then he put up high places all over the whole place. All of the nations had high places, to even more convenient to make their offerings. So it's a false worship of the true God, and that's a problem. False worship. I guess you can look at your heart. Do you falsely worship for your own selfish reasons? And so it's almost like God squeezed the 10 northern tribes, and all the good people who actually sought God had left. All the common people, priests, prophets who knew this was idolatry, they ran down to the southern kingdom of Judah, strengthening it even more. And you know what this makes me think of? I think of mega churches and then home churches. Like the mega churches, the more people, the more corrupt. Israel always had wicked kings. Once Jeroboam got in there, always a wicked king, every single time. Never a good king. Judah had a mix, he had both. And it's interesting because Israel began with a man of God, or so it seemed, and it just failed. And then Judah began with a man who was in idolatry because of his dad, and yet it lasted longer. It had both, it had good and bad. So it kind of shows you like God would prefer a smaller kingdom, a smaller church. We shouldn't see. It's like, what happens? They don't want the pastors, because I always think of pastors as kings. I'm like, God, what king does this pastor remind you of today? And it's like the mega churches always have a wicked pastor. It's like all about himself, and I don't know, is he afraid of speaking the truth because he doesn't want to lose people? They just give him a lot of money. He likes the praise of the people more than the praise of God. I don't know what that's about. So and then small churches, they got good and bad. That's why, and more people, you pray for your pastor, more godly people, strengthens the church. And yeah, is what I think of is clearly God prefers a smaller one. There's that. Hopefully that explains it pretty well.